Good afternoon. Hopefully, people will be signing in pretty soon. We're going to talk about sign signals and pavement markings. Um, Hopefully, your day is going well, that all the classes that you were doing this morning, you learned a lot. You were able to get all your work done. I still need people to send in their homework to me, indicating that they have read uh, the chapter that I assigned, and I will take a look at the homework probably this evening, tomorrow, mark it up, grade it, and send it back to you. So hopefully, there we go. I see people coming on now. If you take a look at the screen, you can see that I've updated to the full version of eCam. So I do have my signature, Toll Driving School at the top, and then my Facebook page, Peace, Love, and Safe Driving, off to the side. And I'm using a picture-in-picture to um, give you some dialogue on what you're going to be seeing. Now, this is one of my favorite classes to actually teach, and I feel bad that I wasn't able to um, have you in session so we could take a look at this. So now we're getting people coming in. I see Joey's here. This is good. Let's see who else we've got coming in. There's the homework. Mark's here. Great. That's cool. I'm going to just keep my phone open so I can take a look. You can still provide comments in YouTube, and that will somewhat show up on my screen. But I'm just going to wait just a few minutes for other people to jump in before we start the program. Still no word on when the school's coming back into session or when we're going to be able to start to drive, but I have a feeling this week it's going to be a no for driving. So we're going to try to stay as safe as we possibly can before we start driving. But once we do, we got to hit the roads frequently and get caught up with all the time that we've missed. Hey, Brooke's here. Okay, hopefully other people. Olivia, great. This is good. Yeah. Oh, good. Clayton, hadn't heard or didn't even know you were still around. This is great that we got people joining in. Like I said earlier, when people were starting to come on, this is probably one of the most important classes that we'll have in driver's ed because it lays the framework to understanding what your responsibility is as you get out behind the wheel of the car to drive. So let's just kind of take a look at the assignment that I gave you about knowing signs. So, hey, Luca. Hey, Madison. If you take a look at the sheet that I gave you, how many people had an actual problem doing this? Because every single class that I've given this to in a long time, probably over the last 15 years, I would say that most people scored in the 50 or 60 percentile of understanding signs. So I'm not going to really go over much of it except to show you a few things that you should have done. If you take a look at where my cursor is, if you take a look at this particular sign right here, okay, octagon only has one meaning. C, pentagon, only has one meaning. E, yield sign, triangle, only has one meaning. Okay, the circle only has one meaning, and the square only has one meaning. And then if you take a look at D and F being construction, orange meaning construction, then this test or this little worksheet should have been really easy between the yellow and the white sign. Hey, Rachel. So like I said, make sure you send me what you did on this sheet and I will score it and I'll send it back to you to see how well you did. You probably will find you have more B's and H's than you do any other sign that you'll use for these these here. Hey, Josie. Okay, let's take a look at signs. So when you're driving down the road and you're trying to pick up information that is on the side of the road, signs are always going to be something that you're going to be looking out for. And if you take a look at the picture right here, you're going probably 30 miles per hour in this particular area. Very hard to read every little detail to the sign. So what we hope to learn today is basically what are the signs that I need to pay attention to, and what are the signs I can look at real quick and then kind of put in the back burner of my mind, and ones that I really don't have to take a look at. So what I want you to do is take out a piece of paper and write down some notes on today's live session. Oh yeah, I put down that I didn't want you to do it yet, but after doing today's, I saw that, Rachel. But after doing today's PowerPoint, I said we're not going to have enough time for it. So yeah, that's my bad. Just do it tonight. Send it to me. That's why we're not grading it right now. But I found some videos that I put into the program for today, and I just didn't want to take up a lot of time with that particular worksheet. So no problem if it's not done, but you can do it later tonight. Because really tonight's homework assignment is really quick. It's nothing like what you had to do for this class. So what I want you to write down, there are 4 things that you need to remember about picking up signs on the side of the road. 1 is color. 2 is the shape that the sign is. Then is it regulatory or is it a warning sign? Now, there are only 7 colors. You will be responsible for knowing all 7 colors on the midterm. Shapes, there are many. So we're not going to cover all of them. You can look at the textbook, look at the state manual. You should be able to figure out what those particular signs. I know that you can read. I know that you can see a symbol and probably figure it out. But you've got to remember that as you're driving, these signs are coming at you quickly, and if you've got other information that you're trying to process, you probably won't be seeing all of the signs. So how do we look at the signs that are necessary? And we'll talk about that a little bit later today. Oh, by the way, how's the sound quality? Anybody having a hard time hearing anything? Because I'm kind of a little bit further away from the mic, so if someone could make a comment that it's either good or bad, then that would be helpful. But let's take a look at the most important color of a traffic sign, and that is red. Okay, red means stop or prohibition. We have the stop sign, we have the wrong way, we have the do not enter sign. You can see from the picture down here below that this is of an off-ramp. So even though you don't see the arrows on the pavement right here, you should be able to tell by looking at the signs or seeing that there's a highway, and you're going to be coming off the highway at that point. And of course, you're not going to be going up in that particular area. You're going to be going underneath the underpass and then picking up the on-ramp on the opposite side of the roadway. So Natalie, you can't hear, is that correct? Can anybody else hear? Okay, it's good for you. Oh, okay, it's good. Cool. All right, fine. I'll continue on. With stop signs, 2 things I want you to write down. With a stop sign, if you can't see the stop line, always stop at the stop sign. Now, when are times that you can't see the sign? Rain, bad weather like snow, like we're going to be getting later today. So when you're in bad weather, the lines are going to be obscured. So stop at the sign. And remember, you want to make a legal stop first, and it's better to do it early than late. And then you're going to be moving up if your vision is blocked to the right or to the left. So those are your safety stops. So your legal stop is at the line. If you can't see, then you're moving up. But red sign is the most important sign to be paying attention to. Okay? Now the next color sign. Oh, what is the difference between a rolling stop and a resting stop? Okay, a rolling stop is where the tires are continuing to move a little bit. Okay, a resting stop is when the car is actually pitching. Remember, there's going to be a little bit of a pitch to the front of the vehicle, and then it's going to come back to a resting stop. That's what you're looking for to come to a complete stop. So remember, when you go for your driving test, you want that resting stop, that legal stop. You want to, basically wait 3 seconds. And how do you know it's 3 seconds? You're going left, right, left before you look forward to go through the intersection. So remember to always look in both directions, and then your last check will be back to the left. So this is a picture out close by where I live. And I wanted to just bring the cursor over here so you can see that pedestrians that are crossing the street right here, a lot of times cars are coming around the corner, paying attention to where the brick building is and where traffic is coming. And they're rolling through this stop sign. And they're missing young kids going to school. I live very close to an elementary school, and this is where kids are crossing. Now, it's been advised to the kids not to cross here, to go a little bit further up the road where there's a better crosswalk. Okay, let's take a look at, this is pretty close to the junior high in Oyster River. You can see the stop lines. The reason why I took this picture and dropped it in is that stop sign is on the left. Don't be surprised that you'll see a stop sign every once in a while over on the left side of the road. Reason being is that you've got 2 lanes of traffic. So if you've got a large truck in this right lane, he would be blocking this stop sign. It would be very difficult. Oh, you can't see the cursor. I'm sorry. Okay. So the lane to the left would be blocked with people that are stopped in the right lane. I keep on forgetting that you're not seeing everything that's on the screen. Okay, white is your second most important sign to be picking up. And what I want you to write down, law or regulatory. Law means it's something that you have to do. Regulatory, basically the same thing. Now, there are 3 subcategories to a white sign. White with black, white with red, and white with green. Okay, can someone basically guess what a white sign with black lettering would indicate? Let's see if someone pops it up real quick. What do you think a white sign with black lettering would indicate? Because each color means something slightly different. Anybody want to take a guess? It's almost like having real class. Don't be afraid to put something up. I don't know if there's like a 30-second lag or what. All right, I'm going to give you the explanation for each color. Okay, white with black means to do something. White with red means don't do something. And white with green means that you can do something, but it has a time frame, as the no parking for 2 hours. Hey, I've got a visitor. Anybody? Come here. Come here. Come here. Come on up. Come here. Everybody say hi. This is my dog. This is Bailey. Bailey just jumped in.
Come.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So much for keeping my door shut. Yeah, an example would be speed for the black sign. So with the green sign, you can see that between 8 and 5, you can only park for 2 hours. Oh, there's a huge lag. Yeah, I'm sorry. No problem. I'll have to remember that when I ask a question. I'll give you more time. But with the green sign or green lettering, you have to understand that if you do park for 3 hours and there's a parking person out, that you're going to probably get a ticket. But anything within that 2 hours, it does become legal. It becomes illegal, like the white and red sign in certain situations. So, yeah, everybody saw my dog. Yeah, yeah. Bailey's left us. Bailey's not with us any longer. Okay, let's take a look at the next sign. The next color that I want you to write down and know something about is a blue sign. And a blue sign would indicate motorist services. So let's kind of, brainstorm what would be on a blue sign. And you can tell by the picture, you've got lodging, you've got phone, you've got restaurants, you've got hospital. Handicap is probably the most common blue sign that we see, but most blue signs will probably be on a highway. That way, it's guiding you to which exit to take and how much further you have to go before you reach some of these services. Yellow is the most, and you can write this down, is the most common type of sign that we have. And the problem with the yellow sign is that there are so many of them that we just don't pay attention to any of them. So we're missing vital information of what is coming up ahead. So all a yellow sign is trying to tell you to do, be aware that this situation is coming up. Now, probably the most important yellow sign would be a school zone, school crossing, or pedestrian crossing. So as I've got on the PowerPoint here, there are two different kinds of yellow signs. Okay. Yellow regular would be general warning. A neon yellow sign would always indicate pedestrian crossing, school zone, or school crossing. And you can see by the bottom picture here, we've got the neon, and then the top picture in your computer here is indicating two regular yellow signs. So those are the ones that we see the most. And by the way, you can make a little note that when you do your midterm tomorrow, yellow signs are going to be pretty frequent. There are going to be a lot of different yellow signs that you're going to have to tell me what you think the meaning of the yellow sign is. Here's an example of a yellow on top of a speed limit. So it's advising you of a school zone with the actual law of the speed limit, like we were just talking about, white with black lettering. And notice that the sign or the picture to the left is indicating the time frame that the school speed limits are in effect. So 45 minutes before school, 45 minutes after school. If you are on 155, you're going to see the sign to the right. That is going to be a speed limit sign with flashing lights in that time frame that we just mentioned. The picture to the left is actually from Madbury Road coming towards Durham. I don't know why they didn't change the yellow sign on top. Yeah, the midterm will be tomorrow. Yeah, we're going to cover enough information. So information that we're covering today and tomorrow. The midterm won't be right during this time. We'll have the presentation tomorrow, and then sometime in the evening, you'll get a text message with your test to take with a password to get in. It'll probably be around 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock that I'll actually send it out. But don't worry. It's kind of open notes. So if you want to try it without looking at your notes, that's fine. But I'm going to make everything that we do just open notes, basic information. If you can show me that you wrote it down, can find it, and put it into your answer, that I'm going to give you credit for. So please don't freak out about what the test is actually going to be tomorrow. Okay, the next sign is a green sign. Green signs are going to be found, the majority of them, on the highway. So they can tell you direction or guidance. And if you take a look at the top picture, you have a couple shapes within the green sign. You've got the state of New Hampshire embedded in a white square that is specific to New Hampshire. That is a state route. And 202, which is a shield, that is going to be a state route that goes to multiple states. And the bottom sign that you see on the green sign is telling you the street that is going to be at the bottom of the off ramp, going left or going to the right. Thought this was kind of a funny sign when I saw it online, so I figured I'd drop it into today's presentation. I have relatives that live in Oregon, and this is in Oregon. If you get on State Route 20 heading east in Oregon, you'll reach Boston, Massachusetts. So it's going from the West Coast to the East Coast, but it's going to take you 3,365 miles to get across the United States. And this road is not your interstate that you're thinking of. This is an old state route with going through towns, traffic lights, and lower speeds. So this is a long journey. But I figured, why not throw signs that you normally don't see into today's presentation. The least color sign that you will see will be a brown sign. A brown sign means recreation. In all the driving that I do in the area, I think that there are probably maybe 4 or 5 that are around. So you really don't see them around. Of course, when you're in a more of a historical area or a more recreational area, then they're going to post more of these signs to alert you to what is coming. Orange, we'll be seeing more orange signs coming up now that we've got, well, tonight we're having snow. But usually when the weather gets a little bit warmer, construction to the roadway will starting up again, although they can actually dig into the pavement and do all the work that they can or that they need to do on a superficial basis. So we will see some orange signs around right now. Okay, traffic signals. When you take a look at a traffic light, and we have it in an order, red being on the top, yellow in the middle, and green at the bottom. So what I want you to do is to, in your notes, write down the red is on the top because it is the most important. Yellow is telling you to clear the intersection, and green is telling you after you've made your checks left and right, then you can proceed with caution in bringing your speed up to the posted speed limit. But remember with a red light that you should be stopped at the stop line or prior to it. You do not want to stop on your driving test just beyond the stop line. So make it a practice if you're the first car coming up to an intersection to stop at the line. Don't go just beyond it. And the other thing that I thought that was interesting about this picture that I included is if you were in class and I was showing this to you, some of you would say, oh, this is a yellow light. And then the other half would say, no, this is a red light. So after what I've just told you, that red is always on top, you've got to remember red is always on top. This just looks yellow. The reason being is that the camera didn't pick up the colors quite right. So it's kind of bleached out a little bit. And there's another indicator in this picture that would let you know that it's a red light. So take a moment and take a hard look at the picture. What is showing you that you have to stop at this intersection? If you picked up the pedestrian countdown sign, then you would be correct. So even if you didn't see the light, you still have the pedestrian countdown sign that's telling you that you've got to stop at this intersection. Now, how confusing would this be? Huh? Now, when I first saw this, I actually thought it was a real intersection. And I said, maybe it's just the camera just blurring everything out. But in reality, this is a park with a huge display of traffic lights. Now, personally, I think it's too close to an intersection because you could see lights that are kind of blurred, and I'm wondering whether those are lights of cars that have gone by. but I just think it's way too confusing. And I think what you got to take away from this is that it's it's confusing. And anytime that you're confused, you've got to go slow and start to kind of analyze and pick up what you really need to do and pay attention to. Yeah, and before the crosswalk on that last question. Good. Okay, how do traffic lights actually work? There's actually a magnetic field underneath the pavement, so it senses when your car is going over that area, and it's going to tell the traffic light. There's a computer terminal there. It's going to send some impulse to that computer terminal indicating that you're there and to change the light. Now, rather than just trying to explain it and read through this paragraph, I found this video. It's around 11 or 12 minutes that I want you to watch, and it basically explains intersections. So I'm going to try to get this up and running.
If you live in a major city, I can take a pretty good guess at one of your most common frustrations: traffic. In city driving, the journey is rarely better than the destination. In most cases, we just want to get where we're going. Traffic is not just frustrating, but it has consequences to the environment as well. All those idling vehicles have an impact on air quality. When you're stuck and sitting behind a long line of cars, it's easy to let your mind wander over solutions to our traffic woes. But traffic management in dense urban areas is an extremely complex problem with a host of conflicting goals and challenges. One of the most fundamental of those challenges happens at an intersection, where multiple streams of traffic, including vehicles, bikes, and pedestrians, need to safely, and with any luck, efficiently cross each other's paths. Over the years, we've developed quite a few ways to manage this challenge of who gets to go and who gets to wait, from simple signs to roundabouts, but one of the most common ways we control the right-of-way at intersections is the traffic signal.
Okay, hold on.
I'm Grady, and this is Public Work, my video series on infrastructure.
Okay, let's go back. Okay.
If you live in a major city, I can take a pretty good guess at one of your most common frustrations: traffic. In city driving, the journey is rarely better than the destination. In most cases, we just want to get where we're going. Traffic is not just frustrating, but it has consequences to the environment as well. All those idling vehicles have an impact on air quality. When you're stuck and sitting behind a long line of cars, it's easy to let your mind wander over solutions to our traffic woes. But traffic management in dense urban areas is an extremely complex problem with a host of conflicting goals and challenges. One of the most fundamental of those challenges happens at an intersection, where multiple streams of traffic, including vehicles, bikes, and pedestrians, need to safely, and with any luck, efficiently cross each other's paths. Over the years, we've developed quite a few ways to manage this challenge of who gets to go and who gets to wait, from simple signs to roundabouts, but one of the most common...
Okay, I'll try to work on something here.
Common ways we control the right-of-way at intersections is the traffic signal. I'm Grady, and this is Public Works, my video series on infrastructure and the human-made world around us.
How about now? Can you see it now?
This video is sponsored by Squarespace. More on that later. There are a lot of good analogies between cities and human anatomy, and roadways are no exception. Highways are like the aorta, with a high capacity and single major destination. Small collector roads are like the capillaries, with not much capacity, but a connection to every individual house and business. and in between are the aptly named arterial roadways, the medium-capacity connections between urban centers. Rather than ramps, overpasses, and access roads to control the flow of traffic, arterial roads use at-grade intersections through which only a few traffic streams can pass.
Okay, I'm going to try to do something different.
If you live in a major city, I can take a pretty good guess at one of your most common frustrations: traffic. In city driving, the journey is rarely better than the destination. In most cases, we just want to get where we're going. Traffic is not just frustrating, but it has consequences to the environment as well. All those idling vehicles have an impact on air quality. When you're stuck and sitting behind a long line of cars, it's easy to let your mind wander over solutions to our traffic woes. But traffic management in dense urban areas is an extremely complex problem with a host of conflicting goals and challenges. One of the most fundamental of those challenges happens at an intersection, where multiple streams.
No, I'm checking my phone. I'm just trying to figure this out. I'm trying to see if I can drop it.
If you live in a major city, I can take a pretty good guess at one of your most common frustrations: traffic. In city driving, the journey is rarely better than the destination. In most cases, we just want to get where we're going. Traffic is not just frustrating, but it has consequences to the environment as well. All those idling vehicles have an impact on air quality. If you live in a major city, I can take a pretty good guess at one of your most common frustrations.
Okay, I'm still trying to figure out why I can't get the screen.
If you live in a major city, I can take a pretty good guess at one of your most common frustrations: traffic. In city driving, the journey is rarely better than the destination.
How about now? Can you see it now?
In most cases, we just want to get where we're going. Traffic is not just frustrating, but it has consequences to the environment as well. All those idling vehicles have an impact on air quality. When you're stuck and sitting behind a long line of cars, it's easy to let your mind wander over solutions to our traffic woes. But traffic management in dense urban areas is an extremely complex problem with a host of conflicting goals and challenges. One of the most fundamental of those challenges happens at an intersection, where multiple streams of traffic, including vehicles, bikes, and pedestrians, need to safely, and with any luck, efficiently cross each other's paths. Over the years, we've developed quite a few ways to manage this challenge of who gets to go and who gets to wait, from simple signs to roundabouts, but one of the most common ways we control the right-of-way at intersections is the traffic signal. I'm Grady, and this is Public Works, my video series on infrastructure and the human-made world around us. This video is sponsored by Squarespace. More on that later. There are a lot of good analogies between cities and human anatomy, and roadways are no exception. Highways are like the aorta, with a high capacity and single major destination. Small collector roads are like the capillaries, with not much capacity, but a connection to every individual house and business. And in between are the aptly named arterial roadways, the medium capacity connections between urban centers. Rather than ramps, overpasses, and access roads to control the flow of traffic, arterial roads use at-grade intersections through which only a few traffic streams can pass at a time. We call this interrupted traffic flow for obvious reasons. In most cases, these intersections are the limit to the maximum throughput of the roadway. In other words, increasing the number of lanes or speed limit won't have any effect on the overall capacity of the road. The only way to increase the number of vehicles that safely travel from point A to B is to increase the efficiency of the intersection. In addition, these intersections are where a vast majority of accidents occur. For these reasons, traffic engineers put a lot of thought and analysis into the design of intersections and how to make them as safe and efficient as possible. Controlling the flow of traffic through an intersection, otherwise known as assigning right-of-way, is an enormous challenge and almost always requires a compromise of numerous conflicting considerations, including space, cost, approach speed, cycle time, sight distance, types and volumes of traffic, and human factors like habits, expectations, and reaction times. Intersections also need to be rigidly standardized so that when you come to an unfamiliar one, you already know your role in the careful and chaotic dance of vehicles and pedestrians. From a throughput standpoint, the ideal intersection would cause no interruption to flow whatsoever, but you can't put a high-five interchange on every city block. On the other hand, simple signs are cost-effective and don't require any extra space, but they can't handle a lot of volume because they create an interruption for every single vehicle passing through the intersection. You can see why traffic signals are so popular. They aren't a panacea for all traffic problems, but they do offer a very nice balance of the considerations we discussed before. Relatively low cost, minimal space requirements, and the ability to handle large volumes of traffic with only some interruption. In their simplest form, traffic signals are a set of 3 lights facing each lane of an intersection. When the light is green, that lane has the right-of-way to cross. When the light is red, they don't. The amber light warns that the signal is about to change from green to red. Beyond this basic function, traffic signals can take on innumerable complexities to accommodate all kinds of situations. Let's take a look at a typical intersection here in the US to show how they work. At each approach to an intersection, there are 3 directions vehicles can go, called movements: right, through, or left. Right and through are usually grouped together as a single movement, so a typical 4-way intersection has 8 vehicle and 4 pedestrian movements. These movements can be grouped into phases of the traffic signal. For example, the left turn movements on opposite approaches can be grouped into a single phase because they can both go at the same time without conflicts. Traffic engineers use a ring and barrier diagram to sketch out how different phases of the signal are allowed to operate. Here's the ring and barrier diagram for our example intersection. The first phase is the major street left turns. Then the major street vehicle and pedestrian through movements. A barrier to clear the intersection. The minor street left turns. The minor street vehicle and pedestrian through movements. And finally, another barrier before the cycle starts again.
Hi, I'm Rex Moore with the Motley Fool in front of BMW's self-driving exhibit.
There are an endless variety of phasing arrangements that traffic engineers use to accommodate various intersection configurations and traffic volumes for each movement. Even the simple decision of whether to use protected or unprotected left turns takes a significant amount of analysis and consideration. Another important decision is how long each sequence of a phase should last. Ideally, a green light should last at least long enough to clear the queue that built up during the red light. This isn't always possible, especially during peak times on busy intersections. In these cases where the intersection is saturated, the green light might be extended for each phase to minimize the startup and clearance times, which are periods when the intersection isn't being utilized to its maximum capacity. The amber light needs to last long enough for a driver to perceive the warning and decelerate their vehicle to a stop at a comfortable rate. 1 second for every 10 miles per hour or 16 kilometers per hour on the speed limit is a general rule of thumb. But traffic engineers also take into account the slope of the approach and other local considerations when setting the timing for yellow lights. In most places in North America, you're allowed to enter an intersection for the full duration of a yellow light, which means there needs to be a time when all phases have a red light to allow the intersection to clear. This clearance interval is usually about a second, but can be adjusted up or down based on speed limit and intersection size. So far, we've only been talking about signals on a set timing sequence, but most traffic signals these days are more sophisticated than that. Actuated signal control is the term we use for signals that can receive input from the outside and use that information to make decisions about light timing and sequence on the fly. These types of signals rely on data from traffic detection systems. These sensors can be embedded cameras or radars, but most commonly they're inductive loop sensors embedded into the road surface. They are essentially large metal detectors which simply measure whether or not a car or truck is present, sometimes to the annoyance of bicycles, scooters, and motorcycles that may be too small to trigger the loop. Whatever the type of sensor, they all feed data into an equipment cabinet located nearby. You've probably seen hundreds of these cabinets without realizing their purpose. Inside this cabinet is a traffic signal controller, essentially a simple computer that is programmed with specific logic to determine when and how long each light will last based on the information from the detectors. Actuated control gives a traffic signal much more flexibility to handle variations in traffic load. For example, if a nearby road is closed and traffic rerouted through a signal that doesn't normally see such high demand, it may need to be reprogrammed before the closure. A light equipped with actuated control will simply see the additional traffic and adjust its phasing accordingly. Same thing with special events like concerts and sports games that create huge traffic demands on irregular schedules, and even seasonal changes in traffic like in major tourist destinations. Actuated systems can also keep you from waiting at a long light when no one's crossing in the other direction. Finally, actuated control can help by giving priority to emergency vehicles and public transportation by using specialized detectors like infrared or acoustic sensors that communicate directly with certain types of vehicles. But actuated control isn't the end of the complexity. After all, it still treats each intersection as an isolated entity, when in reality each signal is a component of a larger traffic network. And each component of the traffic network can have an impact, sometimes a major impact, on other components in the system. Take the classic example of two signals closely spaced in a row on a major roadway. If one signal gives a green but the next one doesn't, cars can back up. If they back up far enough, they can sit through multiple cycles at an intersection without being able to pass through until the light beyond clears. It's a frustrating experience for anyone. A signal is inadvertently but significantly reducing the capacity of an adjacent signal. One solution to this problem is signal coordination, where lights can not only consider the traffic waiting at their intersection, but also the status of nearby signals. This is a very common configuration on long corridors with relatively minor but frequent cross streets. The signals on the major road are timed so that a large group of vehicles, called a platoon by traffic engineers, can make it all the way through the corridor without interruption. This type of signal coordination can significantly increase the volume of traffic that can pass through intersections, but it really only works on stretches of road that don't have other sources of traffic interruptions, like driveways and businesses. If the platoon can't stick together, the benefits of coordinating signals mostly gets lost. The obvious next step in efficiency is coordination of most or all the signals within a traffic network. This is the job of adaptive signal control technologies, or ASCT. In adaptive systems, rather than individual groups of lights, all the information from detectors is fed into a centralized system that can use advanced algorithms like machine learning to optimize traffic flow throughout the city. These types of systems can dramatically reduce congestion, but they're only just starting to be implemented in major urban areas. As sensors become more ubiquitous and computing power increases, traffic management may slowly but surely be relegated from civil engineers to software developers and data scientists. On the complete opposite side of centralization, many believe that self-driving cars are the next revolution in traffic management. If every vehicle could communicate and coordinate with every other vehicle on the road, interrupted traffic control could eventually become a thing of the past. But don't get your hopes too high. In dense urban areas, traffic congestion is often self-limiting. Especially during peak times, for every one person on the road, there are many more at work or at home waiting for the congestion to clear up before they head out. This latent traffic demand means that any increase in capacity will quickly be filled up with more traffic, bringing the congestion back to the same level it was before.
Katera was really formed because this industry is so ripe for change.
However we accommodate it, now or in the future, traffic will continue to be one of the biggest challenges in our urban areas, and traffic signals will continue to be one of its solutions. Thanks to
All right, let's see if we can get back into the PowerPoint. So I apologize. I'm still getting used to this program. It is kind of tricky to do. See if I can get it. Now I can get my other screen. Now that boom, boom. Okay, here we go. Oh. Trying to get back to the PowerPoint. Hmm. There we go. Okay, now I'm back. Okay, I got it. I figured it out. Okay, so hopefully that last video wasn't too technical, but what I want you to write down in your notes is that every time that you approach an intersection that is green, you need to anticipate that it's going to be turning red if you have cars waiting left and right at the stop line. As you just saw in the video, it's all activated by um, the magnetic field underneath the pavement. So it's something that I want to put to the forefront of your mind at every intersection that we go by. Okay, now that I get this on, let's see if we can, there we go. The other thing I want you to write down is Opticom. An Opticom light is an indicator that an emergency vehicle will be coming to the intersection soon. If you take a look at the traffic light, it's very hard to see, but in between these red lights, there will be a small red light that will come on indicating that an emergency vehicle is in the area. It could be coming towards you, could be coming left or right, could be coming up behind you. You don't know. So listen for the sirens, look for the flashing red lights as it comes towards you. Turning right on red. So write this down. It's in your state manual. Turning right on red is legal in every state, but you have to stop first. You have to look for a traffic sign. Look for a sign that will indicate no turn on red. If you see the sign, then you've got to wait for the green light. But if you don't see a traffic sign saying no turn on red, come to a complete stop at the stop line, make your check to the left. As long as you don't cut out in front of somebody, you can turn right on red. Now, you can't turn right on red if there's a flashing hand signal, and you can't turn right on red if there's a countdown, even if there's no traffic around. So make sure that you put all these into play before you turn right on red. And as I said, every single state allows turning right on red. Now, some cities may not, like New York or certain parts of Boston, but they should have signs indicating that you can't do it. What do you do when traffic lights don't work? Okay, I want you to write this down. Always follow the direction of a police officer. So like on Route 4 in a heavy snowstorm, if someone hits the power supply and we don't have power going to the traffic light and they're out, they're going to send a patrol officer out to direct traffic. So he will let you know when it's your turn to go through. He'll also hold out a hand telling you when he wants you to stop. But let's just say that there isn't a police officer around. Then what you want to do is treat that four-way stop, treat that intersection like a four-way stop. What do you do when the light turns green? You always want to check left and right if you're the first car going through before you go through the intersection. But here's a situation in this picture. If you take a look, there's a car carrier truck that has bottomed out in the middle of his carrier. So even though you have a green light, you cannot go through this green light. If you take a look at the picture, it's kind of hard to see, but there's a police officer. His vehicle is off to the far right, but he's going to be directing traffic. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Oh, I'm sorry about the video. I'll see what I can do about making sure the video plays a little bit better next time. The other thing too is that after this session is over, if you ever want to go back and take a look at it on YouTube, the compression will probably help for playback, but it's probably really rough. I'll take a look at that tonight after everything is done. When the light turns yellow, just make sure that you are through the intersection when the red light comes on. So in your notes, if the light is red when you're facing the intersection, when you're going through, if you can see any part of that traffic light is red, you are running a red light. So basically going through a yellow light is based upon your speed and your position as you approach the light. So a good rule of thumb is that if you get to the solid white line, if they're divided lines, then it's okay to go through. But we're going to talk about a point of no return in just a moment. So here we go. Point of no return. So please write this down. Know your speed and stopping distance. So if you're traveling at 30 miles per hour, coming to the traffic light, bring it down a little bit lower than that. It gives you a couple split seconds to figure out what you want to do at the red light. Second thing, know what's behind you, because you don't want to hit your brakes real hard and then get hit from behind. And lastly, look to the right, find an object, and as you approach that green light, you're saying, if I hit that telephone pole when the light turns yellow with the speed that I've got, with the distance that I've got coming, then I'm just going to go right through. So that is the point of no return. Practice it even if you're a passenger in the vehicle. It's a good way to do it. Actually, if you're observing, that's something that you would probably be doing in the back seat. Okay, you need to know all your arrows. So in your notes, write down a green arrow is a protected turn. You can only go in that direction. A red arrow means that you need to stop first. If there is no sign indicating that you can't turn right on red, then you can. But in this picture, you can see that there is a sign indicating you can't turn right on this red arrow. So you would have to wait for the green arrow. A red arrow pointing to the left is like a stop sign. So in your notes, you can turn left on a red light. This is a question that you can ask your parents. I'll guarantee that they're going to get tripped up on this. The only time that you can turn left on a red light is if it's a blinking circle light or a blinking left arrow. Then it becomes just like a stop sign. So those are the only situations that you can actually turn left on a red light. I don't know if this is going to work. I'll try to do it again. We'll see if the videos will work on this, but I thought this, let's see if this works. Can everybody see this little video? I'll make it a little bit bigger. I'm going to just put it right inside. These are people that are running red lights. Let me get out of this. So if you take a look, the light's turning red right now. Watch how many seconds. Almost hitting a car that's trying to get through. Most of these that they're showing you, these are taken from cameras that are posted at the intersection. They can take a look at your license plate from the front and from the back, and they're going to send you your ticket in the mail. So write down in your notes, this is what we call photo enforcement. Light is red, cars start to turn. He's going to split between two cars. Here's a person that will go around someone that has stopped for the traffic light just to get through it. He was probably afraid that he was going to hit the car from behind, so he decided to go around. Now, this is one of my favorite ones. The light is red. He's going to think he's going to beat the red light until he notices that he's got a semi-tractor trailer coming right at him. And he goes, he's bigger than me. Here's a person that's going to get sideswiped a little bit. So that's our first crash that we have. Now they're going to get a little bit worse. Wet weather, so stopping distance will come into play here. But I think the school bus probably blocked his view when he decided to go through that intersection. Now, I think this is the worst one. Tell me what you think. Tell me if you think this is worse than number one. Now, watch closely. Hits the pedestrian. Doesn't kill him, but he has to crawl so he doesn't get hit again. Light turns red. School bus starts coming out from the side and hits the bus. Okay, I just thought that this would be something that you would have some interest in, because when people say, well, I'm just running it when it just turns red, but that's not the philosophy of a lot of people. They think that they still can beat a car that's coming through on a green light, just like this school bus. And look at that. That is such a close call. So thought that would be good to show you. In some major cities, we have bicycle traffic lights. They're going to be, of course, indicating the same information as you get as a driver, that red is on top, then yellow, then green, but they have the symbol of a bike rather than a circle. And this is probably only in about 35, 38 metropolitan areas right now, from what I have heard. International signs, if you ever get a chance to drive in another foreign country, just make sure that you follow their rules. Most of the signs and colors and shapes are going to be the same, as you can see right here. I had a chance to drive in Italy in November. It was interesting. I didn't think it was that difficult, although in certain cities in Italy, they had a hard time following traffic rules, at least the way that I interpret them and what was posted. But you probably, if you had a chance to be in Europe, you can tell what type of drivers they actually have by the type of country that it is. But it's always fun to get to travel, and as you get older, you'll be able to drive. Can you explain this sign? If you take a look real closely, you will notice on the bottom left corner, that was taken with my camera when I was stopped at a traffic light. And the reason why I did it is because everything is backwards. People are having a hard time seeing this. Can everybody see the screen now? Just let me know if you can't see it again. I see someone, I think it's Owen, says he's having a hard time seeing this. The future for sign recognition, what you're going to find, what they're doing in most cars now are indicators that when you get close to a speed limit sign, a speed limit will shine up on your dashboard, indicating that you are approaching a 35-mile-an-hour zone. And as you go by it, the sign is going to fade, and then a new sign will come in. So we're going to put little like barcodes on signs, so as you go, you're going to be able to see just on your dash. So you're not going to have to be looking way off to the right or way off to the left. You can't see it. Okay. Okay, let me boop 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 boop. Okay, I see the problem now. Okay. Can you see it now? Okay, hopefully I'm over the hump there with not seeing it. If you ever have problems, I appreciate the comments that are coming in, but the best way to do it with a live feed is probably if someone could text me the information, I'll be able to change it a little bit quicker. I don't think I can get back to the last video. I'll see if I can get to it real quick. Okay, I'm gonna wait till someone. How about now? Okay, so you can see the screen now. Okay. So let's just kind of move along. Pavement markings need to know that yellow will be to the left of your vehicle and the white line or edge line will be to the right. Seek alternative routes. I like that. The white line off to the right of you is also called a fog line. So make sure you write that down in your notes. The state, when you go for your driving test, may refer to the white line as the fog line. So make sure that you have that written down. The only thing I want to talk about right here is the shared turn lane, and that's a shared left turn lane. So the middle lane is going to be for left turns going uh, at each other. So both north or south or east or west, depending on which way you're going, can be making a left turn. So I'm just going to try to get through most of this without any more videos, just so that you've got the information, and then we'll go from there. In your notes, make sure you understand reversible lanes and what we find at certain times of the day. Traffic, we want to get traffic going into the city, so it's going to be early morning, more lanes, and then later at night, as you can see on the screen, it's going to change in the middle. Always stay underneath a green arrow. Never drive underneath a red X. And if you ever see a yellow light, whether it be an arrow or an X, you can stay in that lane temporarily, but then you want to move away from it. And if you have any doubts of what to do, then you always want to be driving in the far right lane. Zipper lane, another term for reversible lane is zipper lane. These are movable barriers. Yeah, all the comments were about the video. So certain times of day, this is taken in Massachusetts. So we do have something close to reversible lanes in Massachusetts. So what happens is this barrier is going to be pushed or moved over. I would love to try to show you this video, but I have a feeling that it's just not going to work. So I'm going to just try to get through the rest of the videos today. HOV stands for a high occupancy vehicle. So make sure that you have that in your notes. The only vehicle that other than someone that's carpooling that can drive in that lane in certain states, that you can have a energy efficient vehicle like a hybrid can drive in that lane. Interstate and state routes, you need to know that your shield, the red, blue, and white sign, is an indicator of an interstate. So your odd first number is taking you north-south, and your even number is taking you east-west. On a state route, with an even first number like 202, it's taking you in or through a city. And like we have in Durham with 108 and 155, it's going to be an odd first number is taking you just through a city. So you do need to know that. Display stop lines, write that down. This is something that we have in Durham at two different intersections that we have. And the reason why the left stop line is different than the right stop line is allowing vehicles that are just to the left of you, if they were going to be making a wide left turn, they need that added area, probably 10, 15, 20 feet in front of you in order to occupy to complete their turn. So anytime that you're in that area, you could possibly get hit. This was kind of humorous. I saw this probably about 6 months ago when we were doing our lane change lesson. Even state troopers make mistakes. So take a look at this. Here's a state trooper that his whole vehicle is beyond the stop line. Okay, he's in that X area that he shouldn't be. Okay, you just don't want to be there. School bus safety. Yellow lights come on first to give you warning that the school bus is going to be stopping. You do need to know this for the midterm. Red lights are going to be coming on soon, so you need to stop 25 feet in front of the bus, 25 feet back from the bus. And the best way to figure out what 25 feet looks like, think about 2 car lengths. If you could squeeze 2 car lengths in between you, then you probably got your 25 feet. And watch for kids after the bus has left, because a lot of times they'll linger on the side, maybe throwing things at their friends if the windows are down, if it's nice weather. And there has been some incidents with kids getting hit by buses. Now, I would like to show this, but I don't know if it's going to work. If I can move it around so you can see it. Okay, I'm going to switch over. Okay, now I'm switching over to the built-in camera. So you're probably just going to see the screen now and not me. I got to switch over. Okay, here are two, or one story about a family that lost all three kids at a school bus crossing or when they let the kids out. So be very careful before school, after school, when kids are coming to the bus, because if you're going too fast, you're on your phone, you're just not going to see them. School bus safety, that's the video that I was going to show you. Railroad crossings, look for signs. You must stop 15 feet before the track and no more than 50, and look for the double tracks. Okay, I think because I'm having problems, I'm going to sign off, and we'll pick up the remainder of this, and we'll also do it a section on stopping and speed tomorrow. So it looks like about an hour is all I can do. Let's see if this. So I'm gonna sign off right here. I will text the homework that you have, so rather than doing it here. So till tomorrow at 4 o'clock, I hope you had a good night or are going to have a good night, and I apologize for the technical problems.